Hello, welcome back. We are four struggling filmmakers. My name's Emma. Joined with me is Noah.
Hello.
Jimmy.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
As always, we're going to start with our film recommendation segment.
Minority Report. It's just a B-Tech Blade Runner. And anyone else watched anything?
Is that your only review? Is it just the one sentence?
It's fine.
It's Steven Spielberg. It's an entertaining little film. It's a sci-fi futuristic crime film with Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell. But yeah, it's all right. Enjoyed it.
I watched the film. I don't know if I might mention it in the discussion today, but I watched a Ben Wheatley film. It's called Happy New Year, Colin Burstead. It's like a low budget family comedy drama about a bunch of people coming together for the new year. And it really annoys me because that would have been perfect for last week's topic, and it really works in with a lot of those themes. But I genuinely think it was fantastic with like what they could do with all the characters, because there's quite a lot. So if you want to give it a watch, it's like 90 minutes. It's really good.
I've got a film recommendation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is in keeping with this week's theme, which we'll talk about in a second. But mine is Harry Brown, just because, we've got Michael Caine in it. It's very gritty, very British, and I just think it's a good piece. It's like a thriller, but what's the subgenre? It's like British
Crime.
gang.
Horror.
British crime thriller, I think.
It does have a specific name, doesn't it? It's like
Something
like
gang.
horror, isn't it? No.
It's like youth trash culture or something. I can't remember.
Trash.
If you like your dose of Michael Caine, then you're going to love it. So that leads nicely into what we're talking about today, which is what, Jimmy?
Thank you, Emma. Today we're going to be looking at British films. Nearly said gangster films, but they're not all gangster films. We're taking a look at British cinema. They're not all set in London, but most of them are. And I suppose one of us will start.
Thank you for that introduction. Yes, we are talking about British directors this week. I'm going to go first, and I've chosen my all-time favourite director, Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, some places cite him as like British-American. However, for the purpose of this, I'm going to call him completely British. He was born in Britain, education's British. So for me, British. He started off, as most filmmakers do, as we've all done, with some shorts. And I think one of his most famous shorts is Doodlebug, which he wrote and directed and did all. Like, if you go on the IMDb for Doodlebug, he's literally done everything on it. He's got 4 Golden Globe nominations, 34 Oscar nominations, and 10 of those were wins. So pretty like up there, he's pretty good. But what I think he's best known for, like, even if you don't know that Christopher Nolan directed the film, I think you can tell it's a Christopher Nolan film from the way he uses non-linear storytelling. And that's known like straight from his entire career. That's not something like he developed, though. That's something that he had from the very start. I'm going to look at one of his earlier films, Memento, which I think sort of leads the way into some other of films. Like, people have sort of commented how Tenet takes elements from Memento, which I can see, to be fair.
It's funny that Memento is one of his first films and it's his most accomplished, and Tenet is a bit of a mess personally for me.
Yeah, that was some of the critics' opinions as well, to be honest.
It's just consistently across Nolan's career. I wouldn't say he's getting worse and worse, because he's not a bad filmmaker in any stretch. But there's more and more criticisms drawn towards his later films than there have been his earlier ones. So as Noah said, with Tenet, that's definitely got a lot of flack recently for being the audio being too loud, and or like the general gist of the story being maybe a bit too confusing. But if you look back, Interstellar, even though people do really like it, it did have quite a few criticisms there about the story and the dialogue. And before that, I think it was it Dark Knight Rises? I think it was. And that was probably the most criticized of all of the Batman ones that he did, because people were like concerned about like plot holes and like Bane being like inaudible. But you know, I still like Dark Knight Rises. I like Bane. He's cool.
I think if you think about it, so for example, for those who don't know, Memento basically follows this guy who has short-term memory loss, and he's got notes and tattoos all over his body, but like whenever he wakes up, he can't remember what it's about, and it's his journey to find his wife's killer, and it follows two sort of storylines. So you start on one storyline, so you start like at an event, and then one storyline goes backwards and the other storyline goes forwards, but it's intermingled. So, and I think that works because if you think about the character's traits, he has short-term memory loss, so he is confused. So if you compare it to Dunkirk, for example, it would have made sense if it just played in chronological order,
100%.
but he took parts out. Like, it still would have been a good film, and I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that they couldn't really understand necessarily what was going on, because you had to sort of think and you're going, right, so they've just done that, but I'm just seeing it now.
Yeah, very jarring, isn't it?
I like Dunkirk because it didn't really feel that Nolan-y compared to. Not really compared to like Interstellar, Inception.
I think Inception. If you say Christopher Nolan, I think Inception is probably the most famous Nolan film.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, that and Dark Knight.
I would say Inception is more Nolan-esque. Like, it's like his trademark Nolan-esque.
Yeah.
If he handed Inception at the top of that CV, it would say Inception.
Obviously, he like plays with time a lot, and he like goes back and forth with different, as you said, non-linear storytelling. But what other specific elements would you class as his like directorial flourishes?
Thinking maybe more specifically Dunkirk, but I'm maybe looking more at the actor choices. He's cited as saying that he didn't want people who were like in their 30s trying to play 20-year-olds. He wanted to cast 20-year-olds. He wanted that organic age range to make it look more realistic. And much against the studio's enthusiasm, he didn't cast any Americans because, again, he wanted that authenticity. And I think maybe not exactly the answer to your question, but I think Nolan films have a sense of authenticity to them.
Yeah, he doesn't like the use of CG, does he?
Yeah,
he likes his practical effects. That's a big Nolan thing, I think.
And I think that comes from sort of doing the shorts and doing things yourself.
Yeah, I think with Dunkirk, that was really it. He didn't want anything looking out of place or uncanny or unreal. That's why he used so much real stuff in the film.
It doesn't have any of his now famous expositional dialogue either.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was literally I think probably there's like a page of dialogue in total. That's not a fact. That's just me.
But yeah, it's very minimalist.
Yeah, because it doesn't have any character explaining this to another character, but it's basically for the audience sort of thing, does it?
Yeah, you've literally got to piece it together yourself.
Funny that's his trademark, that being known as a really amateurish script writing and filmmaking trait.
But I suppose the thing is, when you're a successful filmmaker, you can break the conventions and the rules of filmmaking.
Yeah, you can.
And people will praise you on it.
Is there anything explicitly British about his films, or is he now just sort of a Hollywood director?
I think that's where the classification comes in, from it being him being classified as like an American British, because a lot of his films are sort of set more in America and more Hollywood-esque. But then the classification for a British film by the BFI has this massive list. So do you cast a director as being British under those same like rules, or do you know what I mean? Like, yes, some of his films aren't necessarily as British as maybe other films on the BFI, but is he a British filmmaker? Yes.
Do you feel like there's a bit of elitism with British filmmaking? Because you know, as you just mentioned, the BFI basically having this massive list of like, to be British, it must have this.
Any nation that has a distinct film heritage is going to be quite elitist to some degree.
Yeah.
But I think we've had to evolve because we don't have any money for our films. We have to get it from America. I think
True.
that's probably why the BFI British criteria is not as selective as you would almost expect it to be. It's still pretty selective. Like,
Yeah, I think like talking about the elitism, I think Jimmy's right. Like it definitely was historically, as any gatekeeper institution is, like by nature, there is a level of elitism. But I definitely think the BFI is trying to move away from that, especially with all the like inclusion funds there are, especially at the moment for filmmakers of like women, of like underrepresented like populations. They definitely are trying, but then if you think about the Academy Awards, is it necessarily translated across? I don't think it's
how often do you end up seeing a film that's actually been BFI funded in like any degree? They're not generally very successful. Also, it is nice that they have those criteria for funding, and also, isn't it, if it's a multinational co-production, it's automatically eligible for BFI funding, isn't it?
I think so,
Possibly.
especially if it's transatlantic. I think is that the
Yeah. I think this is all like vaguely possibly correct stuff. It's to do with money, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
For my pick this week for British filmmakers, I chose Edgar Wright. He has made 3 out of my top 10 films of all time, all of them being the Cornetto trilogy, which I'm going to talk about today. So basically, he was born in Dorset. He studied in Bournemouth, and then he went on to make a television series called Spaced. And then from that, he made Shaun the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, and then some other films in between and afterwards. His most well-known trait about Edgar Wright's style, his visuals are all very kinetic. They're always moving and they're always leading one thing into the other constantly. And it never feels like things are slowing down. It's only like speeding up, leading to like the explosive conclusion, especially within the Cornetto trilogy, because they share a very similar structure and actors and style. He's very good at setup and payoff. I think every line, every little thing that you can pick up on a second watch relates to something that follows on later in the film. And usually with like, obviously there's like Chekhov's gun and stuff. Like he does that specifically in Shaun the Dead, where they point to the rifle above the bar and then they get used in the big shootout at the pub. But it's basically all of his films are Chekhov's films, because each bit leads into something that basically gets used at the end. What I like about how British a lot of his, well, with the Cornetto trilogy, they're all very British in the way that they're produced, and basically the whole setting I feel like works because it's so British. Because you could do Shaun the Dead, but it's an American. You could do like an American cop explosive film. And they're all basically parodies and homages to those kinds of films. But the fact that it's set in places that, for us at least, we know and that we're familiar with, it makes it all the more relatable and funnier in a way, because they're all comedies as well. I feel like all of the films nail pub culture quite well, because with Shaun the Dead, like obviously the whole aim of the film is get to the pub. So with Hot Fuzz, whenever a scene just ends, they just decide to go to the pub. And of course, World's End is about a pub crawl. And they're all perfect for like different bouts of humor and a lot of drama, especially in World's End. I rewatched it today, and it's definitely his most mature film out of the lot. As mentioned with that, it's basically as they go on, each of the films gets a lot more mature in the way it's presented.
Do you know what one film I'm surprised you didn't mention? I'm surprised you didn't mention the critically acclaimed Baby Driver.
I feel like I wanted to avoid Baby Driver. It's not my favorite.
That's him going into Hollywood, isn't it?
But it's very American. Probably
he's diverging into America now. They're taking all our little babies. And what makes Edgar Wright distinctly British, James?
Distinctly British. Well, as I mentioned, with like the locations and the actors are all very British in that. And it's quite ironic because Edgar Wright's style is drawn from a lot of different places around the world, from like American filmmaking to like Italian filmmaking is quite fond of as well. And it all becomes like a big melting pot of his style, which works quite well. But he always finds way to keep it very, especially with the humor, it's quite dry when it wants to be, and when it wants to be big and bombastic, it can be.
British humour is very difficult to understand if you're not from that sort of culture. So do you think what makes him British is sort of the way that he crafts the film and the comedy in it?
Yeah, the comedy plays a lot into his style of filmmaking. That's why I don't think something like Baby Driver works as well, because like visually and director wise it's like very well made, but it's lacking that bite of like the sort of like British style that he had in the previous films that makes it really good.
Do you think that's because it was maybe focused towards a more American audience?
Well, yeah, I guess that you could say that as well, because obviously that the Cornetto trilogy is popular in America and people do still like it, but I feel like it hits with the British audience more because of the familiarity with everything that goes on in them, just pushed to a heightened level.
The culture.
And like, yeah. And even with like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that's set in Canada. And that does sort of have like that dry British humor in an American way. And I think that does that a little bit better. Obviously, it's a lot more comic based and a bit more fantastical.
What's your favourite from his filmography?
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz. Easy.
We're going to go into quite a different area now. We're going to talk about Ben Wheatley, who has, I think all of his films dabble in a dash, a little of comedy, but really much more known for his genre, horror, crime. Ben Wheatley, I think his first feature film was obviously Down Terrace, which is basically like a British gangster film, but unlike any British gangster film you'll have ever seen. And I think Ben Wheatley, if you had to sum up Ben Wheatley, you'd probably very quickly come to the conclusion that the basis for his cinematic style is a complete rejection of convention, basically. Every film he does, even if it's a genre film like Down Terrace, it's different, it's unique, and it's very unorthodox. Down Terrace I watched very recently for the first time. It's a crime film, but basically entirely you only see the crime family from inside their house. It's mainly them talking about what they're doing. Very much character driven, as all of his work is, character and plot driven. Very little action, obviously very low budget, most of his films are. Great great British cast. I was going to say naturally grown British cast, but they are, he uses British actors in most of what he makes. There's sparks, explosions of graphic violence, splintered, yeah, that'll do, scattered throughout. And I would say that really punctuates Ben Wheatley's work. In any of his films, there'll be quiet moments of well-crafted, I think James said earlier, like realistic dialogue punctuated by these massively explosive moments. I think he's quite a master at building tension that way. I think once you've had one of those explosive moments, you're on edge throughout the rest of the film because you know it's only a matter of time. That'll do for Down Terrace. Let's talk about Kill List, which is my favourite film that he's done. Kill List is a great exemplar of this must subvert genre convention while basically making a genre film. For the first half of the film, you think it's a hitman film. It's like a really quiet version of John Wick with a lot more talking, a lot less action. But then it's signposted earlier on something is deeply, horrifically wrong with this job that they have. And as it goes on, the film feeds into these gothic and pagan horror vibes until it ramps up into a true horror ending, as it were, which puts off a lot of people. I know Noah wasn't a fan, for example. I think it's a dangerous game to play. As an audience, you're going to build expectations as soon as you know what genre you're dealing with. Audiences generally don't like it when you mess with those expectations, particularly that film's ending, which I won't spoil, but it's very visceral, quite emotional, I would say, and completely depressing for lack of a better word. So yeah, he loves to play around with these genre conventions to craft really unorthodox stories. I wouldn't even say he's a massive. I don't think he sticks to 3-act structure very much. I don't think he sticks to conventional character arcs very much. His characters are generally unlikable, violent, aggressive, hateful, disturbed characters. Everything he does is distinct in the way that it's unorthodox and un-Hollywood. I think in general, Ben Wheatley doesn't get massive recognition because he's so unorthodox that he can't break into Hollywood mainstream. It's not his style anyway. I don't think he wants to.
So going off that point, you just saying like he doesn't want to go Hollywood. I don't know if you know, but you know the film The Meg? He's directing the second one. It's just been announced.
No.
Originally, he was supposed to do the sequel to Tomb Raider. He was attached to that for ages, and he recently got let go of that. I think to do the Meg 2 or something along those lines. So
it depends how you feel about the first one.
He's betrayed you, Jimmy.
That's very, very, very Hollywood studio-esque.
Yeah, it's still genre, I suppose. So at least he's sticking to that. But maybe he'll make something really good with it. I didn't see the first Meg. I assumed it was crap.
Maybe it was all right. Maybe it will actually be a cinematic masterpiece with Ben Wheatley attached. It might be this really suspenseful thriller shark film. Next Jaws?
Jaws. Yeah, there you go, the next Jaws.
Yeah.
So what makes Ben Wheatley British?
What doesn't make Ben Wheatley British?
What a great cop-out answer that is, Jim.
Yeah.
No, I think definitely his early filmography is obviously distinctly British. It's set in Britain, British cast and crew, small scale, low budget productions, generally within British genres like crime and horror. We're known for these things. I think when you translate to his more mainstream films that do become a bit international, High Rise I would say is still quite distinctly British. There's two big actors in it, Jeremy, somebody help.
Clarkson.
Jeremy, I nearly called him Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Irons and Tom Hiddleston, of course.
Yeah.
Still set in Britain, in a dystopian Britain. Yeah, I would say that is what makes him very British.
Eloquently put there, Jimmy. Now, last but by no means least is me with my director, who is a lady, and that's different to all the 3 directors we've picked today, who have all been men. And obviously the industry might be a bit dominated by men at the moment. So I've gone for something a bit different. I've gone for a woman. Now, Andrea Arnold, so her first feature film was a film called Red Road, set in Scotland in 2006. The film I'll mainly be talking about was her second film, Fish Tank, which I know a lot of us have seen here. And she did another film, Wuthering Heights. I haven't seen that one, so I can't talk about that one much. Thank you, Eva. I'll start with her short film, Wasp. Have any of us seen that one by any chance? No. So it's about half an hour. Won the Oscar for Best Short Film in 2003. And amazingly, Danny Dye is in it. And just saying the words, Danny Dye has been in an Oscar-winning film, pretty shocking.
Jesus, yeah.
But yeah, even in this film, it's just about sort of working class characters, which becomes quite a trait, really, in their films.
Yeah.
It's working class environments, and it's sort of about sort of troublesome figures, sort of themes of deprivation and impoverishment, sort of profound here, as they are later in all of her other works. And now, Fish Tank, I'll talk about that. So it's about Mia, who is growing up in this quite rough household where she and her mum don't particularly get on. The only thing she really likes in life is dancing, and she dances a lot. Not very well for me personally, but it's not about that. And then she meets this bloke called Connor, who's going out with her mum, and he sort of gives her a lot more attention, and it's attention she's never really had in her life. He sort of talks to her, they get along quite fine, and then slowly but surely over time it sort of becomes a bit weird and a bit flirtatious. She's obviously 15 years old and he's a grown-up. It's a bit weird. It's worth mentioning that the girl that plays Mia is not a professional actor at all. Her name is Katie Jarvis. She was just found by casting assistants at a train station where she was arguing with her boyfriend. And then the casting assistants saw her and were like, "Hey, do you want to be in the film?" And she's really good in it for a non-professional actor. I think it works well having someone like Michael Fassbender. You know, he's a pretty good actor. They play off each other well. They have really good chemistry, and I think that works. They in American Honey as well. She also hired a non-professional actor, so this seems to be a common theme of Andrea Arnold. That actor's, well, she's called Sasha Lane, and she found her just in America. She was on the beach, like a spring break, and then Andrea Arnold just went up to her and said, "Do you want to be in my film?" And that's again, she plays off quite well with Shia LaBeouf in that film as well.
It's testament to her directing, isn't it? Because the job of the director is to get the best performance from the actor. I think Andrea Arnold then definitely seems like someone who knows how to get a character out of someone.
Yeah, she's really good. She does a lot of, like, all her films are sort of character based. I don't really know much about the story of Wuthering Heights, so I can't really speak much for that.
The difference with Wuthering Heights compared to her other films is Wuthering Heights is obviously an Emily Bronte novel, so it's quite traditional and like quintessential. So I think it's quite interesting that that's in her filmography.
Yeah, so the big controversial casting decision with Wuthering Heights was, of course, Andrea Arnold really broke the mould by casting a black actor for Heathcliff. Despite all the controversy at the time, and this was over 10 years ago now as well. So particularly with period pieces, this happened less. But she reasoned it very well. I think he's a brilliant actor anyway. But in the novel, and Emma will be able to attest to this, having studied it, Heathcliff is described as having dark features and quite possibly being of a non-British descent. But yeah, it amazingly managed to spark some controversy at the time. And she said, well, why not? It wasn't the most controversial thing about that film. The most controversial thing about the film was probably she managed to distill in some scenes of quite a lot of violence, you know, mixing in with that gritty tone that she always goes for. And the particular scene that got Ofcom, or our version of Ofcom Watchdog or whatever it is going, is when after Heathcliff has been whipped, I think, she licks his wounds.
With Fish Tank and American Honey, it's all filmed in chronological order of how the story goes.
Really?
Which I think that's quite cool, because it allows sort of characters, the actors, to develop their characters as they go along, especially if you're non-professional like Mia is in this film. Yeah, it's worth mentioning as well, this American Honey film, because it's all set in America. It's all American actors, all American cast. So, and it's funded, but it's funded by British. So this again comes into, is this a British film? Is this American film sort of debate? Mm-hmm. However, you can tell it's her style straight away. She likes lots of shots of just sort of nature, and like sounds of nature as well. Like there's loads of shots of like animals and insects in American Honey, as well as in Fish Tank as well. I remember there's the bit of the caterpillar. And like you can hear sounds of like the wind, and there's a lot of natural sort of sounds in those films, which is quite interesting. She really likes to make use of her surroundings.
Nice, lovely. So that was all of our chosen British directors, which leads us onto our endgame, which James is going to be doing this week.
So welcome to Are They British? So basically, here's how everything's going to work. For each slide, you're going to see a picture of a person or a film, and you're going to have to guess whether or not it is British or not. So basically, you just put your thumbs up if you think it is, or put your thumbs down if you think it isn't. I'm going to ask you to do it all at the same time so you don't copy each other's answers. So we have Mr. Michael Caine of Italian Job, Get Carter, and Muppets Christmas Carol fame. Is he British? Thumbs, people. There we are. So we've got 3 thumbs up. And as we can see, hold on, let me just quickly adjust everything. Yeah. Hold on. Come on. Yes, he is.
Wow. Animation.
Yeah, here we are. Round 1 is actors. We have Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis of There Will Be Blood, Gangs of New York, and Lincoln fame. Is he British? So let's have a see. He is indeed British.
I thought he was Irish.
He is not. He is actually British.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. All right, so Michael Fassbender, Prometheus, Steve Jobs, X-Men, and obviously Fish Tank, as we were just talking about. Is he British? Thumbs, please. He is not British. He is German-Irish. Well done, Noah. That's very...
He's Irish, isn't
Yeah,
he?
you got that right.
Dad's German, his mum's Irish, and he speaks
Right.
impeccably.
As we can continue. Pierce Brosnan, obviously one of the Bonds. He was also in Mamma Mia and Sally Field's boyfriend in Mrs. Doubtfire. Is he British? Thumbs, please.
That's not Pierce Brosnan, that's Colonel Sanders.
It's Pierce Brosnan in a very nice Guy Fawkes goatee.
Oh, there you
So
go.
we've got thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. The answer is
He
no, he's
thought
not. He is Irish.
He is indeed, sir.
Well done.
3 out of 3. 3 out of 3.
Yeah, nice one, Noah. You're leading. And we've got Daniel Kaluuya, obviously from Get Out, Black Panther, most recently Queen and Slim. Is he British? Thumbs, please. He is indeed. Yes, well done. Another
Very slow
3-point
fun
round.
from Emma.
So there we are. Dev Patel, Slumdog Millionaire, Lion, and he's going to be in the new A24 film, The Green Knight. Thumbs. What do you guys think? Down, up, up.
Oh, Jimmy delayed.
I was a bit
Right.
late. It wasn't
It's all right. We can work around it. So we've got 2 down and up, and we've got. He is indeed British.
Of course
So
he
that's,
is. He's a heart.
5 out of 5 for Noah, 4 out of 5 for Jimmy, and 3 out of 5 for Emma on round 1. We continue to actresses. We've got Elizabeth Debicki from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. She was in Guardians 2 and most recently Tenet. Is she British? Thumbs.
I'm in love with her. I think she's beautiful.
So we've got down, down, and up. She is not. No, she is Australian.
I thought she was.
She does an English accent quite a lot. We've got Lupita Nyong'o. We've got 12 Years a Slave, Us, and Little Monsters. Is she British? Thumbs, please. Up, and down. Noah's on a streak. He's right. She is not. She is Kenyan Mexican, if you believe it.
No way.
Yeah.
But she's got a very English accent, hasn't
She
she?
does indeed, yes. Right, moving on. We've got Carey Mulligan from Drive, The Great Gatsby, and most recently, Promising Young Woman. That's it. That's the name of the
That
film.
looks quite good.
Yeah. Is she British? What do you guys think?
Oh.
Up and down.
She was in Doctor
So we go on here. She is indeed British. Yes.
She's married to the Mumford and Sons man, isn't she?
I didn't know that. Oh, how about that?
No, that's some no bags news.
We've got Zoe Kravitz. She was in
Ooh.
Fantastic Beasts series. She was in Mad Max Fury Road, and she's going to be Catwoman in the upcoming Batman film. Is she British? What do you guys think? Yes.
I don't even know her.
No.
I don't know her.
No. Yeah, I was trying to go outside the box for some of these later ones, just to see if I slip you guys up.
I mean, I've
But-
seen
Emma, you're not having a good day. It's she's not.
Oh.
She is not.
It's
She's an American actress. And then we've got Kate Winslet, Titanic, Eternal
Oh.
Sunshine, and of course Flushed Away, everyone's favourite DreamWorks film, Trek. Is she British though? What do you guys think? Up, up, up. There's the easy one. Of course she is.
No, I was wondering if she was going to be Irish or something.
Yeah. Next, we've got some directors for you guys. We've got Paul
Ooh.
Greengrass from the Bourne Supremacy, Bourne Ultimatum, and just Jason Bourne. And you've also got Captain Phillips, and most recently, The News of the World with Tom Hanks in both. What do you guys think? Is he British? He is indeed British. Yeah. That one surprised me. I looked it up and I was like, really? He's British? I didn't.
I've seen him
not
in
expect.
interview. He's on Netflix's 5 Came Back series, and he's exceedingly British. Yeah.
We've got Lynn Ramsey. She did We Need to Talk About Kevin, You Were Never Really Here, and Ratcatcher, which was one of her first films. Is she British? So, thumbs all round.
She's a Scottish
She is
woman.
indeed. She is Scottish. We've got Nia DaCosta, which we mentioned a few weeks back for Candyman. Her first film was Little Woods, and she's going ahead to do Captain Marvel 2. Is she British, though? What do you guys think?
Fun fact, Little Woods is
Down, down, and up. She is not British, I'm afraid.
Emma.
It really isn't Emma's day, is it?
I think there's a pattern to these.
All right, let us continue on. We've got Gareth Evans of the Raid films, and also most recently Netflix's Apostle.
That
he
was a dodgy
British,
film.
though? Up, down, and up.
He's
I'm sensing a pattern here. So I can reveal he is British. He's Welsh, actually, specifically. We've got Steve McQueen, 12 Years a Slave, Shame, and Widows as well.
Windows.
Widows. Read the
Widows.
poster, Jimmy, for goodness sake.
I see.
Is he British, though? Is he a British director?
Yeah,
Up and up. Thumbs all round.
might not be.
I can reveal he is indeed British.
He's great.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure about that.
So now we move on to the last round films. We've got Lawrence of Arabia, David Lean, 1962, Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, and Anthony Quinn, starring. Is it a British film, though?
What are you measuring this by?
Yeah.
By what it says. Is it a British film? Obviously, it's not set in Britain, but is the production all of itself a British film?
It has to be. David Lean.
All right, so
Yeah.
2 down, 1 up.
Is this Emma's?
No. 2 up and 1 down. But you know, it was a British film. So
Come on, Emma.
we continue on with
Come on,
the Witch. The Witch with Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Ineson, and Kate Dickie. Is it a British film, though?
It's my future wife, Ralph Ineson.
No, I thought you were talking about the goat.
No, not
Yeah.
Black.
We got Down, 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 and it is not a British film. No, it is an American film. We've got Mary Poppins, Gilly Andrews, Dick Van Dyke, and David Tomlinson there. Is it a British film, though?
Oh.
Right, so up, down, up. I can reveal that
It's Disney, isn't it?
Noah has broken his streak.
Oh.
It is not a British film, I'm afraid. Even though it is very British in its presentation, it's a Disney film, so unfortunately, it
The
is.
streak is over.
Yes, but you did very well, Noah. I'm very proud of you. Hellraiser. Everyone's
Oh.
favourite horror film there. We've got Claire Higgins, Doug Bradley, and Nicholas Vince. Obviously, it's the famous one with old Pinhead, as he's known.
All-star cast.
But is it a British film? What do you guys think?
Ooh,
Down, up, up.
I think it is, isn't it? Clive Barker's British.
It is indeed. Yes. All right. So last question now. Paddington, obviously. Ben Whishaw, Hugh Bonneville, and Nicole Kidman, and Paddington Bear himself. Is it a British film, though? Up, up, up. Up, down, up. Okay. Is it?
I just
What?
have to go for the opposite to Noah, just in case.
All right.
My only chance
Nice.
to win. I think it is British, though, isn't it?
Of course it is, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was a British indie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is.
So there we have it. That is the end of my game there. So I can reveal in last place with 9 points. Isn't too bad. That's like just under half. We got Emma. And following on from that with 17 points, we got old Jimby. But the clear winner, the one who absolutely dominated this quiz, is Mr. Noah Harvey with 19, almost a clean slate points.
So, Noah, any final winner's thoughts?
In your face, Jimmy.
Well,
That's all I need to say. And thank you for watching. We've been 4 struggling filmmakers. I will continue to struggle.
Let's redo that bit.
What was all that about?
Really can't it?
It's just like it was all right, but you just kept going.
Why did you say the hospital?
Just